Welcome to Truths for Daily Living. I'm Jeff Scott, pastor of Calvary Baptist Church in Columbia, South Carolina. And thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate you being here. And let me turn my phone on silent so I won't be disturbed. And also, I can see who joins us this morning on Facebook. I wish they would make it possible they could do it at YouTube too, but they don't. I'm sure they've got their reasons for that. Um, okay, there we are. And good morning, Mike Lott. And appreciate you being a part this morning. Others, as you come in, have a good time. Well, you can see from the background, I'm not at my regular studio, uh, nor I'm at my house or office. I'm still at the beach. And the people here are very, very gracious and told us to stay. We could stay, if we wanted to, stay all the way to the week of Thanksgiving. But certainly we've got to come back and do other things. But we are going to take a few extra days just to relax a little bit more and take advantage of what God has provided for us. So we'll be doing our prayer meeting tonight virtually, and I will put a thing out there. Also, be praying for Donita and Benny. Benny's sister passed away over the weekend, and her service is tomorrow. So be lifting up Donita and Benny to the Lord. Awesome people. I thank God for them, and they mean a lot to me and my family, but to the whole church family. They really do a lot in service to God there at Calvary, and as well as other places. But I hope you're having a good day, and it's a beautiful day, and I'm certainly enjoying it, and just relax and serving the Lord. But get into our Bible study. We're going through the book of First Peter, and we go into chapter 3. Now, chapter 2 ended up talking about being submissive to one another and different relationships there, more socially or business wise. And now we're going into um, the family relationship and how that we're to win our spouse to the Lord. And you got to remember, Christianity is still new. The Apostle Peter is still alive. And so the church it's growing. And it's still looked upon very unfavorably as quote a religion is concerned. And so if you were a Christian back then, the odds are that you were persecuted in one way or another. The simplest way you would have been persecuted is to be shunned by your family and community. There's many millions who were martyred for the Lord during this time, and from the day that the church started, actually, there was persecution. We know that Peter, James, and John uh, suffered much in the early church. James and Peter was arrested. James and John was arrested for healing the man outside the temple. So there was a tremendous amount of persecution, and that continues until Constantine comes into power. And supposedly Constantine has a Christian conversion. He comes to Christ, and not long after that, he makes Christianity the religion of the state, which was both good and bad. Good, it took the pressure off, but the negative part was that everybody wanted to be a Christian then to have favor with Constantine. And from there, we see the church becoming more and more organized, and the birth of the Roman Catholic Church during that time. So, you know, good thing is to go back and look at their history. But right now, it's not a good thing or a popular thing to be a believer, especially when you look at husbands and wives. Because you would have a husband saved or you'd have a wife saved, and their spouse, the other part, is not saved. And there was it wasn't a good thing because the other spouse felt ashamed. They didn't want to go through that shunning or that persecution. And so they felt that the believing spouse was the cause of the problems. And many of them wanted to divorce their spouse. If you go into 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where Paul talks about all the different styles of marriages and the unmarried and the widowers, who could remarry and who could not remarry. And he talks about the unbelieving spouse. That if you get saved and your unbelieving spouse has no desire for you and says, I want to divorce you because of your faith, and they put you out, Paul said that was grounds to remarry, but only a believing spouse. And so when Paul talks about being unequally yoked, he refers to two people, one being a believer and one a not believer, that we don't need to yoke up with them. And what Paul means is into a serious relationship, whether it's dating or marriage, or whether it's business or maybe extreme friendship. Paul says don't do that. Now, not contradicting what I always said, that we're supposed to be friends of sinners. Absolutely. Hopefully, y'all are friends of sinners and you're trying to win them to the Lord. But today we're just going to talk about how that a spouse is supposed to go. Now, when we look at it, a lot of people get upset with this passage because it goes 6 verses about the wife and only 1 verse about the husband. And they go, what's the difference? Well, if you look at the context correctly, when Paul gets down to the husbands, he says, likewise. What I've just told these women, man, you're the follow, excuse me, follow the same rules. So, whatever he tells the women that they need to do, men need to do the same thing. Okay? So, let's look into 1 Peter and we'll read the first couple of verses and then go from there. Wives, likewise be submissive to your own husband, that even if some do not obey the word, they, without a word, may be won by the conduct of their wives, when they observe your chaste conduct accompanied by fear. And I'll talk about that word fear when we get there. But he starts off by saying, wives, this is how I want you to live as a godly wife. And it's also in a likewise manner that, man, this is for us as well, how we're supposed to conduct ourselves.